Okay. Yeah. Hopefully I don't robo voice again today. That's been getting annoying, man. Real quick before we really get into it. I've been genuinely needing to do this because I've been super annoyed. What's up, Joyous? Yeah. These little guys need to be glued to this dude before we start painting. We'll probably start painting tomorrow because my whole thing was I was gonna wait for a rhino, right? So my whole thing was we were going to wait for the rhino and go from there, but I got a game on Friday. So what we're going to do instead, I decided, even though I'm already well over budget this month for, you know, what I was trying to stick to so that I didn't burn too much money, I bought a Predator. Make sure he's kind of, the whole point of this one is to make him a little bit flat. What do you mean the 10th? What's up, Goblin? What do you mean the 10th? What day is it? The 12th. I'm losing my days. The Predator I'm building, we're going to try to magnetize because I want to use it as a rhino for Friday. But I also want to be able to use it as a Predator if I like think it's necessary. We're still getting another rhino. That'll eventually come here tomorrow night, most likely. My issue is I want a Predator on the field, or I want a rhino on the field. I've had a few people say they'll let me borrow one, but like I'm not really that into that. Personally, it's a little eh. So what we need to do is we need to consider all of this. Core frame, I think. Oh, for 10th edition? Yeah. We're doing 10th edition stuff. So core frame is probably fine. I won't need to do too much with that. Cap is fine, front is fine. Then comes the issue of what we apply here. This is the first breakaway point where we're gonna need to start figuring out how to magnetize. But yeah, we get this going. Then I have a unit that I can kind of rotate into a Predator or a Rhino. The biggest fear I have right now is that when the points drop change comes out, that I suddenly find myself having more points, which I'm not looking forward to. So the idea is going to be, how do I make the adjustment, right? Like, what do I do to properly adjust that kind of a team? Yep, go for it. So having a third rhino is a good idea because I have 3 squads of cultists. So if I have 3 squads of cultists and 3 rhinos, I'll be good. But if I also can find the points or the purpose to swap to a like an all las cannon predator, that would drastically improve my anti-tank potential. So right now I'm kind of just in like layers mode, right? Like I'm trying to create a situation where I have a lot of options. Yeah, it's gonna be top plate. The little front portions, like the what is it? The front little covers. These things I'm gonna also need to think about. Because the Predator version has like the recessed lens and all that, whereas the Rhino has the like actually up tilt ones that have guns on them and stuff. But yeah, Sposons are core, and then back turret is also core. I have an idea on how we're going to magnetize the back, and then I have an idea on how we're going to magnetize the Sposons, but I need to physically see it. I've got my Dremel tool out and ready to go. For if I need to actually do like a recessed magnet or something. And then I have all my different size magnets. We have so many magnet sizes. But yeah, this is kind of key and core to my units. And then tomorrow, if I can get over here, it's the day before the game. We'll actually be able to start painting. It's going to be a huge prime day that day. Huge primer day. Which is kind of an issue, because then I have that extra Rhino that's not going to be here for paint day, which I do not like. But for now, it'll be fine. Because I do really want to get into like the Venom Crawler paint jobs and stuff. I have so many fun ideas for them. Cannot wait. But yeah, depending, because point shifts are supposed to be happening. OC0 units are supposed to be seeing price or cost reductions for points, which means my Helldrake might go down in points, actually, which will be super useful. And depending on what else goes down versus up, we'll have to see how much we have left. I'm not keeping my hopes up. I'm not sitting here thinking like, oh, I can't wait to have this extra 100 points. That's not going to happen. That's not going to be a thing. At worst, or at best, honestly, like, the best possible outcome is a few of my units go down in cost and a few of my units go up, and then I'm still at 2k points. Like, I'm just... It's like what happened with my my 1000 Suns list that I was running that had Terminators in it. And then they did that massive points drop across the board for all Terminators. And everyone was like, oh my god, I freed up so much space. But then I looked at it, and then they also increased everything that I had on the field outside of the Terminators. Specifically, I think between the two Terminator squads, I gained like 20 or 30 points. And then the enhancements that I had on the field brought me down, I think, 30 points. Like, it's... The enhancements were the exact exchange. Which was insane. Like, my buddy contacted me and was like, oh, dude, your Terminator list is going to be, like, crazier. And I was like, nope, it's not. Still the exact same list, and it's still 2,000 points. It is what it is. I'm super interested to try this list out, though. Super interested. I gotta just get better at castle stratting. I think using my Mauler Fiends as a way to, like, make people not want to go to mid or not want to go to an objective is good. But they need to do it as a threat. I need to start using the 2 rhinos with cultist squads in them as, like, bait. Because that's the thing, I've never had bait on the field. When I list build, I don't really build for bait. I only build for, oh, this is going to be able to kill stuff. And that's a bad thing to do. Because a lot of this will be able to kill stuff is very expensive in points. And if you only go that, you don't have a lot of things on the field to work with. And losing every single one of my, oh, this kills things units is a great way to just miss out completely. Yeah. Be busy all day doing this, hopefully. I am intrigued by using a Predator in the Soulforged list. The thing is, the more I look at the Fellhammer list as well, I could easily just rotate this over to Fellhammer. Even though Fellhammer is probably more about Terminators than anything else. What's funny is, the Terminators I would use in that list are Scarab Occult. And they're the same size base as regular Terminators. Their weapon loadouts are about the same as what you would want on Terminators. And then going Fellhammer gives them back their normal Scarab Occult Terminator ability. The whole -1 to wound rolls if the strength is higher than the toughness. It's fantastic. So the local store that I was going to, or at least trying to go to get like paint nights in, they just called it on paint nights apparently. No one was showing up. They put in a vote to try to get like a better day for people, and everyone voted on Wednesday, and they were like, cool, we'll do it Wednesday, and then no one showed up. Yeah, their location isn't great for casual stuff. What's up, Chase? Thanks for swinging by. Like, that shopping center sucks. A few horde nids shouldn't be that bad. Like, a lot of the nids, I think, have lethal hits. And lethal hits is just good against almost anything. I lost frickin' Hellbrutes to Gaunts because the Gaunts had a AP1 lethal. He just got into combat with me with so many of them. He rolled like 40 dice, and I couldn't outsave it, and he just went full health dead. Nothing I was doing about it. Alright, double, triple. I'm also not very good at playing 40k, though. I'm man enough to admit that. I get a little blood hungry. I always use my front line at like the worst possible time. We'll actually do the bottom first, I think. Like, almost every game I play, I try to at least have a little bit of melee on the field to be ready to block incoming melee or to potentially counteract something. And every single time, they always die, and I never get to roll for them. I don't get to roll in melee. Yeah, but I'm not gonna back down from something because I'm not great at it. It's just a challenge to me at that point. Once I start figuring out when to put down the gas pedal and when to like lay off of it, I'll do better. Like, I win some games. Some games I do win, but at this point I'm relying so heavily on winning through being just better at rolling dice, which I really shouldn't be doing because holy crap. Did you play the new Iron Warriors thing? You play Fellhammer? Fellhammer sounds so good, man. I'm gonna stick with Demon Engine one, though, Soulforge, because I prefer Demon Engines to regular tanks. That's just me. I just think they're fun. There's nothing more chaosy, in my opinion, than a tank that's like, I'm also kind of a monster. I am thinking of picking up on-foot Morghasts, though, so I can convert them into frickin' on-foot Demon Princes. My whole thing is I want to use my regular Demon Princes, but then I'm going to use the Morghasts as a sort of like mirror image, magical images of the Demon Prince that's on the field. Wait, are you playing Iron Warriors as Vash with Demon Engines? Because that's what I'm playing as Soulforged. I got my 3 cultist squads to get work done. And then a bunch of Venom Crawlers, Forge Fiends, Mauler Fiends, Hell Brutes. We got the works. And it's great, too, because with the Cultists and the 2 Rhinos, you can pay the command point to go through walls with that. Oh, I also have a Helldrake. I've opted for the Helldrake. I know it's not going to be great universally, but I think it'll have its moments. I really do. I think it's going to have that moment that surprises people. I feel like people at the local store that I go to keep calling me out on using them, though. Like, they're like, it's not that great of a unit. I just want that moment, man. I want to be at a team tournament or a 1v1 where these people are at it, and they're like, hey, man, how'd you do? And I'll be like, oh, dude, I 100 to 20'd this guy. And my Helldrake took out their Primarch, like, right away. He'll be like, wait, what? And I'll be like, yeah, I told you, Helldrakes take out Primarchs with wings. Any Primarch that flies, like, that's how they work. And they'll be like, oh, okay. We're gonna pre-put the case magnets on this before I close them up, because it was hard putting case magnets on after I finished the body together. Let me just get the rest of the parts off this sprue that I need before throwing it out. Spellhammer and Veterans. Veterans of Long War is pretty good. I just like Soulforged. The prospect of Soulforged is just so interesting to me. +1 to wound for the enhanced pact, as well as the enhancement for full rerolls on demon engines. Oh my god. I'm in for the gamble, bro. I want to fail these leadership checks. I want to take D3+1 damage to my Forged Fiends. Let's go. The damage output those Forged Fiends have. Oh my god. I mean, I'm not bothered by it, Chase. I do think it's funny. Especially when you see, like, crazy things. What's the list, or what's the rule? My list is, of course, Vashdor. The Oblits that I have back here, oh, you can't see them anyway. They're not part of it. I built them out of nostalgia's sake. I might paint them, but I doubt I'm ever going to use them, because they're not really that great in the rule set. I do like how they look, because they remind me of the custom Oblits I made back in 5th edition. So that's cool. But Soulforge list: 2 Venom Crawlers, 2 Warpsmiths, 1 with the speed enhancement, 1 with the reroll enhancement. Vashdor. We have 2 Rhinos, 3 Cultist squads, 2 Forge Fiends, 2 Mauler Fiends, and a Helldrake. Which is drastically more units than my Thousand Suns on the field at any point in time. Seriously, putting these units down on the field completely threw me off because I'm so used to playing Thousand Suns where I put down like 4 squads and I'm done. They're so weirdly close to how the friggin' Emperor's, or no, the Talons of the Emperor. They're so weirdly close to how the Talons of the Emperor work, and I kind of hate it. Like, you put down Magnus, you put down a big squad. No, yeah, I'll have the Oblits ready to go, but honestly, I think if I'm going to Oblit, I'm not doing Soulforged. I might switch to Fellhammer. Maybe. I think Fellhammer would be better for that. Because Oblit's coming down and being like -1 to wound rolls if you're above me in strength. And then just being on a point, being assholes. Oh. I'll take that any day, man. I used to run Oblits back when their rule set was, here's the list of every gun they have access to. Every single one of them has to fire a different gun. You weren't allowed to use the same gun. That was their balance, I guess, in air quotes. But like every single heavy and even some medium tier guns that existed in the game, like heavy flamethrowers, melta-guns, multi-melt, like all of it was on the list. You could take autocannons, las cannons, plasma cannons. It was just all there. And every single turn, you would just be like, all right, let me pick the 3 guns I'm going to fire at you with. Which was always like plasma cannon, las cannon, and auto cannon. And you would just fire at them across the field. That shit would deep strike. You could wreck things with a multi-melta with it. Back when Melta doubled the strength. I think, was it double strength? Or was it double damage? It was double something. It made it okay from long range into units, but then god tier against vehicles from close. It's been a big change since those days. We'll see. I don't know if Oblits are ever going to be good. From the sound of it, a lot of people talk about how Oblits just always feel lackluster for their points. They're way too expensive for how little they do. I think now you can only take squads of 2, right? Were you able to take squads of 4 before? But now they just reduced it to 2? Or was it always 2? It used to be 3. Back when they were just polygonal pewter creatures. I actually owned one Obliterator. Like one of the classics. Bash, Warp Smoke. You actually went Legionaries and Trader Guard. Yeah, Trader Guard are pretty good. I like the sticky from the Cultists, which, again, I purchased 3 boxes of Ash Waste Nomads for our Cultists. They look really cool. I was thinking of doing a Defiler, because the Defiler being able to go through a wall is kind of awesome. He's got a fair bit of guns, making Bash Pacting him a pretty good idea. 1 Venom Crawler? You could see that. Vindicator, that's a solid one. Forge Fiend, Helldrake, yeah. 2 Oblits. It's probably just for deep strike purposes, get a backline effect. I don't really have that. Although I do think I'm going to leave Vash in deep strike for most of the games that I play, just so he can be where he needs to be early. Although I don't know, because he can fly, I can either put him with the Venom Crawlers or I can put him with the Forge Fiends. It depends on what I'm going against. Or I just use them standard. Like if, what is it? Toughness 4, I need to basically not worry about. Like there's no strength increasing that's going to matter for that. Pathfinders have been good for a while. They've been nerfed a few times, I thought. Like they're still kind of good. Their ability to... Okay, I think the problem is the meta, or what was the meta for a while. Because a lot of people were basically going like, Legionaries, God tier, just play them. Nurglemark, do it. And then Intercessors came out, and everyone was like, oh my god, Intercessors. Everyone play Intercessors. Everyone do it. Everyone play Intercessors. So now you had all these tanky models just on the field, and Pathfinders, you have the ability to stack to literally make it so that elite teams can't hide in open terrain. Because the markers, you don't need to see the unit to mark it, I think, right? Like, or rather, they don't need to be line of sight capable. Like, you can kind of shoot a concealed target in cover with a marker, if I'm remembering correctly. And if you get enough markers on a unit, you then switch to your railgun, and your railgun can just shoot the unit that's in heavy cover or whatever. Like, there's a lot going into them that counters what a lot of people at the time were saying was the meta. So now that that's kind of gone, now we're seeing like, oh, Commandos, Veteran Guards, still God tier. Cultists have been nerfed 3 times. A lot more people using Horde armies. Well, they can be obscured, but then you have to do obscuring things. Being in cover with heavy cover doesn't obscure you. You have to actually be 2 inches away of the point on the heavy cover where the line's being drawn through, which, easy enough. It's easy enough to do it like that. I'd have to look up the rules. I know they have a lot of just like line of sight bending BS. But at the time, yeah, everyone was running Intercessors and Legionary. Intercessors, Legionary were really strong. A lot of tournaments were just seeing a lot of them be like top 3. And everyone was complaining about it because it's like, oh, elites, they're so powerful, they're so strong. But on those same lists, on those same like top 3s were Breachers or like all these other teams where you're like, are you sure it's the fact that they're elite that's the problem, or is it just you? Like that kind of thing. Like, are you not playing against them properly? Like, What's happening here? But yeah, Pathfinders in the hands of a competent player handles elite meta like pretty heftily, pretty easily. In most maps. There's some maps where you're not gonna win as Pathfinders. Or you're gonna have like the hardest time winning as a Pathfinder, rather. But it's just, I don't know. They're good if you know what you're doing. And if you like shooting, they're your army, honestly. They're one of the shootiest armies in the game. AdMech's pretty shooty, but it adapts into melee. But Pathfinders are just like, yo, dog, we shoot. We shoot all day. No, yeah, Legionary firepower is crazy. If they get the right moment, you're just screwed. No, I didn't do this. We gotta figure out how to magnetize the doors to this. And I think it actually might be kind of easy. Because the Sposons, from what I saw in the picture, looks like they kind of indent sit down here. Like, it looks like they kind of sit into this, right? So I think if I get one of my smaller magnets and I just put it there and then put another one on the other side of the Sposon, it'll just click in and you'll be fine. Hearthkin shooting sounds cool, and I like the idea of it, but they're technically a close-range shooting army because, like, Ballistic Skill 4 really sucks. But the ability to upgrade to crits is really good. Like, they have this weird issue of balance of like, oh, that's really powerful, but oh, that's really shit. So they actually play great as like a mid-range shooting army, even with their heavy weapons, but they also have a ton of really good tools. Like the Magna Rail plus the Eyes of the Ancients or whatever that thing is that lets you take a free action. Oof. So good. Just undoes unwieldy. It depends on your opponent. And the map, really, I think. GA2 is great, especially if you have really good gunners. I think the way most AdMech players were playing them back in the day when I was watching tournaments for it, and you'd still see AdMech players, I feel like there's less tournaments going on that are recorded. But the way I used to see it was if you went close quarters, you went Ruststalker. And if you went open field, you went Vanguard. Because catching someone off guard, right? Like catching someone moving to a position to try to get like a point or score something and being like, gotcha, and then just sending 2 units to try to get the kill and secure it in shooting or whatever was just too good. Oh, thanks. I had people comment, dude, this is my favorite thing about nerd culture. Well, my favorite, but also not my favorite. This morning I got up. I don't know what it is about people that watch my channel. They all watch it when I'm asleep. I don't know, like, should I sleep all the time, guys? I feel like I get no interaction on my channel when I'm awake, and then I'll wake up after going to bed, like, the next day, and there'll be, like, 5 comments. I'm like, Jesus, what's happening? But I woke up this morning and there was a guy who was like, your example here is wrong because you could have this, and he starts going into like the minutia of the rules, including like this guy could have GA2, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, okay, all of that. I already said in here that I didn't want to get too deep into the rules. I just wanted to give quick, simple examples to kind of hammer home ideas that aren't going to confuse people. And then he was like, yeah, but I prefer deep ideas. You should have went really deep with the concepts. And then he starts listing all these things that the Legionary could have marks and command point wise and all this. And I was like, God damn, dude. Like, goddamn. This is a series of videos for players that are new to the scene. This guy was just going hard, wanting me to be like, all right, let's do 30 minutes on all the possibilities in this one moment. Absolute madness. Absolute madness is what that is. That's some psycho behavior. No, yeah, I already... Literally, when my friends were like, you should make a YouTube channel for Kill Team and tabletop stuff. Because I was getting into it at the time, and I was watching a lot of content, and we were talking all the time about the rules, and they were like, dude, it'd be really cool if this was also a channel. I think people would enjoy it. There's not a lot of them around. You could probably add some stuff to that whole scene. It'd be great. I was like, yeah, man. The moment I decided, yeah, let's do it, was the exact same moment where I was like, already pre-planning in my head. I was sitting there and I was like, all right, let's be very clear that what's most likely going to happen is I'm just going to get a ton of people who have their own opinions, but then think they're facts, because that's nerd culture. Have their own ideas on concepts that they think I need to do as a person for my channel, because that's what they want me to do, but they don't understand that maybe that's not what everyone wants, and that's not what... Like, it's just one of those things. I was just like, all right, I gotta pre-expect that. I gotta mentally be ready for it. Because the main job that I have is editing for a YouTube channel. And seeing that, like, especially recently, like, holy crap. It's a gaming channel, and with recent stuff that's been happening in gaming, as a channel, we've always wanted to be kind of impartial. We wanted to look at things very mechanically from the outside. We didn't want to bring too much personal opinion into a lot of the statements we make, although I do definitely see that it does. But it was always kind of a thing where we didn't want to do that. But now in gaming, it's like everyone and their mom is some kind of gaming activist in one way or another. And they all want, like, every single time we talk about something that's even remotely related to sort of like a pseudo political concept in gaming, we try to be like, hey, the mechanics in this game seem to be suffering for these things. And then everyone in the comments is, why aren't you commenting on, you know, this thing that this content creator said that clearly means this whole thing is politicized? And it's like, dude, please, for the love of God. Like, goddamn, bro. We just want to talk about the game. Like, a studio shuts down, we talk about it. Simple, you know, like, it is sad. A lot of people lost their jobs. This was a big company that's been around for a while, that's given us a lot of games. There's not a lot of reason behind why they were shut down, at least no good ones. It's all just numbers goes up, and that's really sad that that's the state of AAA gaming right now. And then it's just an ocean of people who are like, talk about this company being related to their shutdown and how woke they are. And it's like, Jesus Christ. People lost their jobs, man. Calm down. It's actually, like, very sad. That's starting to be where gaming YouTube is going. And it's gonna be a problem, I think, going forward. Because we want to keep to the basics. But everyone seems to be hungry for blood. No, you really can't. Part of me feels like the lockdown made it worse, right? Like, we forgot how to be human beings, I think. And that's not saying before that we were, like, perfect, right? We weren't the pinnacle as a culture before that moment. But, dude, there was something about that dark time that ruined us as a species. I think I did these backwards. No, I didn't. There's no way I did them backwards. Did I do them backwards? No. Why do they feel backwards? Where's my other one? No, they're not backwards. Okay, yeah, we did them right. No, we don't want to do that. But like, there's a lot of big gaming channels and kind of game culture channels that exist that are basically telling everyone that that needs to be the case going forward to a degree, or at least the people that watch them think that for some reason. It's just weird, man. It's so weird. We're trying so hard to just keep it down to like, here's information. Enjoy. Enjoy the info. So this is how I pre-magnetize it for my metal casing. I put little magnets on the backs of these. I do like 3 of them across the bottom here. The worst part about it is I don't think people pay full attention, because the common insult that we get chucked is the guy that does the voiceover, the guy that basically writes the script and does all that side before I edit. Everyone's like, you're spineless for not saying anything about this. But like, history would show that jumping the gun on like criticizing something without full evidence or knowledge of it is never a good thing. Like, we do this too much as like a culture. Like, we've done it too much. There have been a lot of situations where like good people got screwed over because everyone assumed something right away, and then as all the info came out later, it's like, oh, huh. And it's like, yeah, we should have learned, right? Like, cycle, like, we've hit the cycle, now we know going forward as a species we're gonna do better, right? Nope. Just nope. Screw that. Why be better when you can just be the same? And it's always fun. It's fun watching it from the outside, I guess, to a degree. Oh, dude, I'm gonna airbrush the hell out of that. So we still have the fun fluorescent plan. I'm sorry about venting. It's just how I work. If I don't vent, it's gonna be stuck in my brain. But our plan is to do that like fluorescent gradation on the venom crawler butts. I'm hoping we'll be able to do it tomorrow. But considering how much we need to prime, I almost feel like I'm gonna come here tomorrow and for 3 hours we're gonna be priming. I almost feel like that's gonna be the case. I don't think I'm gonna be able to paint. Which kind of sucks. We're definitely not doing the Chaos Knight stuff. I think I'm just gonna put the Chaos Knight stuff on the back burner. Because even adding in the primer and the gold painting of the Chaos Knights, that's gonna take forever. That is gonna be a wild trip, man. Probably. I'm gonna need to make sure I got the fan set up behind the box that I'm gonna put up here. All right, magnet set. There we go. I think preemptively, I do not want to glue the roof on quite yet. Granted, I don't think I'm going to glue it on at all like normally. Although, let me think about it. Because key things we need to magnetize is probably going to be the stuff that goes in here. I have an idea on putting 2 magnets on the outside of this. That way I can have on the inside of here the same thing, right? I could have 2 magnets in the same spot so that when it sits, the magnets are basically flush together in that way. Speaking of which, probably the main thing we need to do here is to actually glue this door together in the middle. Because with the door glued, and we'll have the second flat surface that we're going to need to put down. This one being the primary one, which honestly, considering how it's formed, this is the turret on the back. Well, I'll take a look. This is going to change where we try to place the magnets, I think. Yeah. also need the front. And then the side Sposon covers. I'm okay. So I brought this up last time we were streaming. Every single day, I have usually one moment, and one moment alone, where during the day, I will go, dice check. I'll say it out loud, and then I kind of pull all the dice out that I just recently bought, as well as the dice box that I have that's new now. And I go unit for unit in this army. I pick targets. I pick like conceptual targets. I try to go through. I'm like, all right, well, what would it look like for shooting at a Land Raider? What would it look like for shooting at a Rhino? Blah, 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 blah. Like that kind of stuff. We might have to rig this with like a crossbar. We'll see. So I have that moment where I'm trying to figure that out. And I spend about 30 to 40 minutes just rolling dice. Just seeing how it goes, because I'm trying to naturalize the concept of certain dice rolls. Like if I'm about to shoot Forge Fiend plasma cannons, right? Into regular people. Like just into Space Marines or something. I don't need to Vash Pact. I need to mentally be okay with not Vash Pacting there. I need to just have it pre-built in, so I say it out loud without trying to... Because it's dumb to even think like, oh, maybe I Vash Pact this. I need to look at the sequence, though. The sequencing might be a little interesting. Because I think when you pact, it happens after you select, right? Or does it happen before? I know with choosing command points and what ploys you're going to use on stuff, it has to, for the most part, be before I choose. Oh, just rolling with Psychophage. Why? Because it doesn't roll well passively. I mean, that's the thing. If it doesn't roll well, it doesn't roll well. And I can kind of see that in the stats. Like, I'm not expecting my Zangors to do a lot in combat, right? That's just not... That's not in the cards for the Zangors. They exist to not do well. Let's be real. D6 flamers. Oh, dude, it's my least favorite thing now. I've had 3 people tell me because my Helldrake uses autocannon instead of flamer. No, yeah, like, 'cause everyone tells me, like, oh, you should do this because this is amazing, right? Like, whenever I bring up my Thousand Sun functions, they're like, dude, you have to put the damage increase Arcane Vortex on your Infernal Master. And that's really, like, you pop your Infernal Master out and you'll just wipe a squad out with his Flamethrower. And I'm like, you have never seen me roll those 2d6s. I have more than once with that unit rolled a 2. And then, after rolling those damages and failing completely, because that's how bad I'm rolling, I also hazardous myself. So, I will not be putting my faith in 2d6. I have played enough Combat Patrol where you have a leader that is an Infernal Master
whose whole purpose is to just show up and wipe squads out. And I have rolled more 2s and 3s total out of that 2d6. Just to like literally be like, hey, guess what? You're not going to win. Oh, too bad you're not winning today because you rolled 2 instead of 5. Like, Jesus Christ.
I'm so over flamers. People have told me, yo, the Helldrake flamer is really good. You should go with the Helldrake flamer. Screw that. I'm going to go autocannon because guess what? Autocannon has 6 shots. It's not, or does it have 3 or does it have 6? Pretty sure it has 6. It has like a full contingent of shots and 36-inch range. And when I'm shooting flying things, it hits on 2s. Which to me is so much better than being like D6 plus 3. I rolled a 1. No. And I need to be 12 inches away from you. No. The only benefit of going flamer over autocannon is that if you're in combat with something, you get the -1. But that's not that big of a deal to me, in my opinion. It's like, whatever. At least I'm getting the shots. So that's set for magnetization. This is set for magnetization. I think we do the front panel, right? I think the main reason you Arcane Vortex the Infernal Master is because as long as you get 1 hit, which you're guaranteed to get 1 hit, you can declare that his ability triggers on the wound roll, which gives it a 6, which guarantees the crit, which means you've now crit. Which means you get, if you're in dev wound mode, you basically get a guaranteed, I think 3 mortals? No, well, 3 armor piercing shots now. Dude, seeing the Helldrake in Space Marine 2, oh, I'm so happy. I don't know, I'm a huge fan of Helldrakes right now. Mostly because Hellbrutes aren't as cool as Dreadnoughts were. That makes me sad. The more I think about it, the more sad I become. I loved Chaos Dreadnoughts. I loved them. I loved them so much. They were so hard to kill. Their weapons were cool. Their passive abilities were fantastic. Honestly, if Hellbrutes still persisted as the support tank going forward, and then they decided to finally release Chaos Dreadnoughts in much the same fashion as there's Space Marine Dreadnoughts with just tons of guns, crazy abilities, I'd be so happy. I have 2, sir. I have 2! I painted them both. I'm so happy. Okay. I don't know why this visor is able to be lifted. I don't want to lift it, ever. It's cool that it's liftable. But they're supposed to have an Osiris Dreadnought. They're supposed to! It's in Horus Heresy. I think was it in the old codex as well? I have the old codex sitting in my closet right now. Because I keep forgetting to throw it out. I need room, damn it. There we go. Well, the Hellbrute lore is actually a thing. So the way because there is a story about it. So the way Hellbrutes are made for Thousand Suns, someone in a city will start hearing voices. those voices will basically be going, hey, do you want power? Do you want fame? Look around you. Do you see all these bad things happening to all your friends and family? Do you want to be able to change that? Or they'll just, you know, prey on people who just want power in general, like greedy people. And over the course of that time, they'll be like, you need to go to this place. Yeah, Hellbrutes aren't supposed to be Space Marines for Thousand Suns, at least. I don't know if there's other lore for other people.
But so they basically just tell people, hey, you need these items. Go get these items. You need to get these pieces of power and then bring them here. And we will provide you the power you need to help your friends and stuff like that. Or they'll just, you know, simple stuff, simple fun little things like that. That's always a little like, kind of like, what's happening kind of feeling. So they gather whatever's needed, you know, they get the scriptures done, they go through the mental training and whatever, and they're like, finally, I'll gain power and I'll be able to do what I want. And then they go to the place and they stand in the circle and they're like, now give me power. And then a bunch of sorcerers walk out from the shadows and go, sure. And then they start chanting, casting, and turn them into a Hellbrute, which is super painful. Super painful. In the process, it fuses like a demon with them, and then the Thousand Suns and like other people basically control them. At that point, like, that's it. You have power now. You're horrifyingly powerful compared to a regular person, but now you're a slave. Have fun. Like that kind of stuff. So that's kind of the Hellbrute lore for Thousand Suns. Thousand Sun lore is hilarious and awesome all at the same time. I love Thousand Sun lore. Because Thousand Suns on the field pretty much do not at all reflect the lore. Which I know pisses a lot of people off when that happens with their factions, but honestly, whatever. I don't really care. Because Zangors in the lore are actually very competent. Like, Zangors are a mega tier competent as things. Yeah, it's kind of the same thing. If a CSM doesn't die, they merge it with a demon and then it becomes a... Ooh, and Skaven monster. Oh yeah, it wasn't the Skaven monster. Like, people in my local Discord were posting that apparently pictures of it were in like Facebook page posts and stuff. Yeah, so most likely regular Space Marines do it to their own people, but Thousand Suns, that's the whole thing with the lore of Thousand Suns. Thousand Suns love their own people. They love their own soldiers. They hate watching their soldiers die. They hate that most of their soldiers are basically golems. They hate it. They want to fix it. Like, there's still a lot of that built into them, even though, you know, they're basically super being manipulated by Tzeentch and all that. That was a mold line and a half, man. That was crazy looking. Okay. So we can start, at this point, I would say we can start kind of building the excess components. The guns, I have an idea how we're going to magnetize them. It's yeah, to my understanding, some of the lore for some of the Chaos Space Marine Hellbrutes was, haha, you're weak. You're so weak. So this is what we're gonna do to you, because it's living in pain. Like, that's the whole concept. Yes, T-Sun's Index have cultists. The cultist ability in the Thousand Suns, and I think the Chaos Space Marine cultists now basically got rid of all their guns, but the Index cultists still have all their guns, to my understanding. So as those change, that'll change. They are not battle line. Are they battle line? Can't remember. I think they're battle line. Actually, no, they might not be battle line. Thousand Suns. So I know Zangors are battle line. Yeah, no. Thousand Sun cultists, not battle line. So in the new season, they're going to be kind of not as good as Zangors for trying to achieve missions. They get 6+ invulnerables. They still have access to all their guns, and if they die on a 2+, you get a CP. If they kill a unit, which, lol, that's never happening, they also get 2 CP, and they have Scout 6. So they do get Scout. Whereas I think the new ones no longer have Scout. Cultist Mob. That's the old info for Cultist Mob. I mean Human Mob. It's hard going away from Cabal points and Thousand Suns. I think I do want to run a Razor's Edge list where I don't focus as much on Cabal points though, because I tried MSU. I don't like it. You're too open for quick armies to get to you. Like, you're not preventing a quick army from getting to you. Going MSU with frickin' Flamer squads, that's not useful for Overwatch at all. Like, overwatching a 5-man rubric squad with Flamers and 1 leader is just, you're not gonna do enough. You're gonna get like 3 kills, 4 kills, and then if your enemy is still like a 20-man unit, you're dead. Like, it's just how it is. I don't think there was any specific info for who drives. I think we as a community have talked about how funny it would be if the things driving the rhinos were just like a little blue horror sealed into the driver's seat. Chilling. But that's the thing, Zangors, like I said, are competent. Like, it could be a Zangor driving it. Zangors suck in the game, and a lot of their general concepts make them look kind of dumb. But there's actually a lore quote, I believe, from Abaddon himself, claiming that the best Gothic fleet ships that in the Chaos Arsenal right now were all built by Zangors. Because Zangors are artisans. They make some of the best things. Which is very weird. I love Thousand Suns. I used to love Iron Warriors, but when Thousand Suns became more viable to run in, I think, 5th edition, because they weren't elites anymore. Like, 5th edition did a couple things that made me happy. The Chaos faction-specific units became troops, which was huge for anyone that wanted to play sub-factions over main faction. Like, if you wanted to play Death Guard, congratulations. If you wanted to play Khorne Berserkers and World Leaders, congratulations. These might actually be sized for magnets, which is good. So that was cool. And then they moved the Dreadnoughts into elites rather than heavy support. So Dreadnoughts were now elites. So I was able to take for my list back then 3 Dreadnoughts, 2 Defilers, 1 squad of Obliterators, a bunch of Rubric Marines, and then basically a Demon Prince Chaos Lord thing. There were weird rules at the time about your leader.
Yeah, I think I can actually just do flush magnets in there. We need to determine the magnets, though. We need to figure out their spacing and shape. Yeah, so it's probably something like that. Maybe the person has mutated over time, Chaos Infestation style. Or maybe it's just because we have Warpsmiths, so maybe it's just a Warpsmith piloting the Rhino every time, which would probably lean into why the Rhino repairs itself. Because that's what Tech Marines do. They love to repair things. So depending on time, I think the main thing we need to do here is figure out how to magnetize this to work as a Rhino explicitly. Why is there an extra tread? There's just an extra tread on here. Is there a reason for an extra tread? Oh no. So I'm guessing there's two kinds of ammo boxes. No, this is probably left side and right side. That's probably fine. But yeah, I do like Thousand Suns, to the point where even though we don't have a codex right now, we just have the index and it's a very focused index. I'm not 100% behind how the index works. I have a few ideas that I want to use with it so that I can kind of build fun things that might work without necessarily leaning into things that people consider to be really strong in the first place. So I've got ideas, but like, I'm just not 100% behind the codex. So what ended up happening was when the Chaos Space Marine Codex came out, I just wanted to look at it. So I looked up all the leaks, all the reviews, the Goonhammer stuff, everything. And I saw the Soulforged. And I was like, that's the army I want to play. Straight up, I just want to play Soulforged. I've always loved March of the Machines. I just sat here talking to you guys about how one of my builds was 2 Defilers, 3 Dreadnoughts. I love March of the Machines, man. And the current iteration of Chaos, even though the Hellbrutes aren't as cool as the old Dreadnoughts, we have so many options now for machines. Mauler Fiends, Forge Fiends, Venom Crawlers, Helldrakes. So many things that didn't exist before that I now have. Like, I've purchased all of them. They are mine now. So 100%, I was just like, look, all the models are usable between factions. The only model that exists, or the only models that existed that I might want to use for Soulforged that don't exist for Thousand Suns, which I technically you can kind of use, but because of how their bases are, it's a little weird, was the Warpsmith. Which, if you guys need a reminder, We took all my Thousand Sun Sorcerer parts that I had extra, because they give you a ton of them. We have a Thousand Sun Warpsmith, because why not? He can't be used in the Thousand Suns because of his base, but he looks cool. I'm gonna shave down this. And then Vashtor. That's the key thing. I wasn't planning on using Oblitz. Honestly, finding out that Oblitz came with Venom Crawlers made me sad. I just didn't care enough to get the Oblitz. And then they were like, guess what? Surprise! You're gonna have Oblitz, whether you want to or not. Because they all come on the same sprue, and I don't know why. But outside of that, Scarab Occult Terminators, could use them as regular Terminators if I want to go that route. I have a Terminator Sorcerer Lord, could do that if I thought that that was useful. If you're wondering why I would do that, the Chaos Sorcerer Terminator Lord targets a unit and makes that unit have an extra pip of AP against it. Which, if you consider the Soul Forged for a second, the Soul Forged for a command point also further increases AP. So if you go a ton of like decent damage, not great AP light weapons, like if you just lean more into autocannons than most people think, like would be useful, all you need to do is drop a Terminator Sorcerer Lord kind of close to your target and trigger it to get an extra pip of AP. And then just pay a point for another pip of AP and wreck someone's day with, what is it at that point? I think it's AP 4. Is it an AP 4 frickin' autocannon at that point? Well, let's take a look at the... Where are they? Venom Crawlers. Yeah, the Excruciator Cannon would be 6 attacks, 36 inches, Ballistic Skill 3, 2 from the Warpsmith buff, Strength 6, AP 3 damage 2. And you would fire both of those, so it would be 12 attacks at AP 3 damage 2. In that situation. So, you know, this is kind of viable a little bit. And then anything beyond that one is still +1 to its AP pip against the same target. Oh, you mean triple? The triple kits? The Sorcerer crit kits are a little weird because you only get one. I think what they want you to do with the Exalted Sorcerer kits is to buy 3 boxes, because in the Thousand Suns there are disc mounted Exalted, on foot Exalted, and regular Sorcerers. Those are the 3 that you get out of that box. So what you would do is you would have like a very limited what it's wearing one. That would be your Sorcerer. You would have one that has more that it wears and a Copish, I think, in one hand on foot. That would be your Exalted. And then you'd have the guy on the disc with the Copish. That would also be an Exalted, but on disc. So you still need to buy 3 boxes of them if you want like every option. which isn't bad. I ended up doing that. I have all the options. And what's cool is their gun hand, every single one of them I think has a hand version of their gun hand. So you don't have to put a gun in their hand. You could just be like, all right, this guy's a flamer, just like everyone in the squad. So if the meta shifts back to guns and you're like, oh, I gotta get that bolt pistol back. Well, you have it. Congratulations. No, yeah, it's still good. They give you so many bonus parts too. That's why my Warpsmith looks the way he does. There's so many bonus parts. Oh, geez. So these are different on the back. Technically, I can just glue whichever one I want on and don't need to care. So whichever one looks cooler, we'll probably glue. And honestly, this looks pretty cool. The ammo pouch. Actually, no, this is a battery pack. I thought this was an ammo box container. We're just gonna go to this one. This will be my universal. I'm not gonna magnetize the backing to change. Yeah. Yeah, the problem was when everyone started looking into how they were gonna play the Thousand Suns, it started looking like you needed as many HQ choices as humanly possible. So you end up pretty much buying 3 boxes of all those sorcerers. It's kind of the same thing with Genestealer Cult though. The Genestealer Cult HQ box is like, yo, you want a Magus, you want a Primarch, or no, you want a Magus, you want a Primus, and you want a Patriarch. Because here you go. And what's cool is Patriarch is no longer a unique character anymore. So you can, I think he has a built-in rule where you can only have one though, is what they said. They just didn't want him to be considered a special choice because they want him to be able to take upgrades now. Which, you know, Pog. I love it. All right, let's see what magnets fit this. These, I think, fall in. But they are a pretty good size. Where's my other magnet box? Those will be too wide. Oh, maybe. You can also just go 3 on foot HQs if you don't want to go the on disc HQ. And then what's cool is you'll have a spare disc. But you're probably thinking, what makes that cool? Why is that useful to you? Well, is that perfectly sized for it? Oh no, I think it's slightly too big. Yeah, it's slightly too big. What's cool about it is if you have a spare disc and you manage to get your hands, oh, this is actually perfectly sized for it, I think. And you manage to get your hands on a, holy crap. Ah, shit. You manage to get your hands on some blue horrors. You just take the disc, put the blue horrors on it. Congratulations, you have blue scribes. I do like the parts. Just once you've collected enough Thousand Suns, you just get so many good parts just to play with. This needs to work. Probably should have did this before. I don't necessarily care how these go in, as long as they stay in. And then we just need to match them from the outside. We really gotta let that dry, but the magnets are in. And they are flush. That is beautiful. It is so beautiful. Oh yeah, the flavor bits. Honestly, if you play Black Templar, between the bits that you have, all you really need to purchase outside of that is one of these. Jeweler's Chain. If you play Black Templar and you just purchase one of these Jeweler's Chains things, you can just start wrapping all your guns in it. You can provide like, oh, it just looks so good. Just one small Jeweler's Chain kit. You can make them look so amazing. There's such a weird model in 40k too. They only have melee, and it's the worst melee in the game. Like, Blue Scribes in 40k is just like, yo, do you want to have the worst melee out of all units? We got you, bro. Like, come on, man. Why you do this to me? What time is it? One. Oh, we got time. I can look it up. I have two versions. I have one meant for tanks, which is actually really big, and then one meant for people, which is a lot smaller. Chain. So the big chain that I have for vehicles is 0.8. For some reason, it's not letting me see my other order. Jeweler. Maybe it's because it no longer carries it. Does it say on the side? That'd be super useful. No, it does not. It's a small chain though. It's small Jeweler's Chain. No, yeah, the 40k Blue Scribes is, they need to be near something. I think they do mortals if they're near something, but I think that thing needs to be psychic or to use a psychic attack to trigger the mortals. Which, okay. Psychic isn't exactly super common in 40k. Specifically, not even attacks. A lot of times it's just auras, and I mean, if you don't do any damage to someone with a psychic aura currently up, then why does it matter?
This is the one that I'm kind of interested in magnetizing. I think I know how I'm going to do it, because I'm going to do it in a very similar way to how I handle... Oh, maybe. I don't know. Oh, no. This is going to be rough. Let's get the Sposons cut out, though. Because if we can figure out how to magnetize the Sposons in, I can stop worrying about whether or not I'm going to have this Rhino ready by Friday. The main thing in 40K is that they're hyper cheap. And they have lone op and a really quick move speed while being able to fly. That's why almost everyone and their mom, if everyone ran, what was it? Chaos Knights, they would always try to run the Changeling and potentially a Blue Scribe, because that was like 100 points for two of the best scoring units you could have in the game, which is one of the reasons why Games Workshop was like, look, you now need battle line for every single non-battle line demon ally you take, because everyone was doing it and it was winning people games because they were just like, I dropped my Changeling over here, you can't shoot it, and it does the mission. It's like, oh no, oh no, everything's falling apart. All right, so how are these supposed to go? The doubles are at the top. On both sides. I just remember seeing the forum post. This was right around when 10th started and everyone was like, yo, what allies do you take as knights to have a fighting chance? Because everyone at that point was just like, knights can't win. Although I did just watch a tournament where knights won, so kind of fun. Chaos Knights specifically. And so everyone was just like, all right, obviously we need allies for Chaos Knights, because if we don't have allies, we're going to lose out on a lot of mechanical things that we need to be able to, you know, win the game. So which ones do we think we take? And a lot of people were bringing up triple skull cannons, stuff like that. And I remember posting, I was like, I would take a Changeling, bro. Just one Changeling. I wouldn't take anything else, just one Changeling. And someone went, I remember someone in the comments underneath went, holy shit, yeah. Changelings are actually insanely good. And I was like, yeah. Out of nowhere. And then I'm watching freaking Meta Mondays and stuff happening, and people are like, yo, Changeling seems to be everywhere. I was like, oh, fuck. Oh, no. Something's gonna get nerfed soon. I probably shouldn't have said anything. All right, so how do we want to set this up? I think we don't magnetize these front parts. I think what I want to do, although they do show that the cannon basically has to go over top of it. Oh, that does suck. Oh, this part's a little obnoxious. You did this. I might not even have to Dremel. If I'm being real.
I think if I just put the reverse polarity of the magnet that I want in here, I think we're just fine. We cut this thing off, which we can just do that now. Lone Op is amazing, but the amount of people who abuse Lone Op and don't know that there are abilities in the game that gets around it, that's hilarious to me. Like, that's the funniest thing ever, is when someone has Lone Op and I have to sit there, look them dead in the eyes before the game even starts and go, do you understand that Doombolt can target a lone operative from maximum range no matter what? And they look at me like, what? I'm like, okay, to be clear, I have Mutilate Vortex Beasts. If your lone op is in my line of sight within 36 inches of me, I can attempt to kill it from 36 inches. 12-inch range doesn't matter anymore. And they're like, oh, that's crazy. It's like, all right, I just want to make sure we're on the same page. I didn't want to catch you off guard here. Thousand Suns can do it. Frickin' Grey Knights can do it. I think Death Guard have a similar ability. But like the amount of people are just like, oh, I love Lone Op for this reason. And then I have to be like, before I screw you over. Before I do this and you have to call a judge over because you didn't know. I would like to pre-establish. That's a key thing for me in 40K. If you find a rule that you're like, I'm going to abuse the hell out of this, look into the rules that counter it. That's all, like, just do that. Step one of finding a rule where you're like, I'm going to screw with people. Look into all the things that can counter it. So you know what you're looking for. What's up, Trap? Yeah, but it's like deciding to go MSU with a lot of leaders and then forgetting precision exists. Like, I feel like that's more on the player than anything else. Okay, so that means that side. I don't know. Go that way. Because precision's technically uncommon as well. Some armies, it's really hard to get your hands on precision type attacks. Oh, come on. Part about magnetizing that I hate. Crap. No, 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 no. I mean, people say that, but honestly, I'm coming from a place where Psyker occurred in shooting phase. Like, I don't think that losing a whole thing during the game that was exclusive for people who were like, we are Psykers, matters as much as people keep claiming. Your whole thing is to try to make the game fun for, like, a bunch of people. So breaking up the speed and pacing of the game by being like, do you have a Psyker? All right. Like, I guess we'll wait for you. That's kind of shitty. Like, it's not the best. It's not the best play. Oh, thanks, M1. So what you're saying is, the psychic abilities can happen in phases, but you get to pick the psychic abilities? You do. Like, it depends on your unit. There are units that exist where, like, you'll just have psychic function and options that occur at certain places. Are you talking about enhancing people with, by being able to pick, like, a team enhancement that then gives you psychic stuff that are specific to the squad? I mean, that's near impossible to balance, A. But B, like, the Thousand Suns specifically, you do pick the enhancement that goes on top of your psychic stuff. Like, you do augment it turn to turn, which is kind of interesting. It keeps it live, it keeps it fresh. I do kind of miss buffs and debuffs to a degree, even though they do still exist. It's just they don't exist as much as, like, let's say AOS. But maybe AOS is more or less the place that needs to stay at than anything else. Because buffs and debuffs are brutal. Even the few that we have left right now, like the Exalted Sorcerer's half distance. Oh, that is so angry. That is such an angry ability. Just to be able to move up and go, you're going half your range. Have fun. What, like in the Thousand Suns, choosing to Doombolt in a phase, or potentially doing Temporal Shift, or doing the armor save reroll if you want to go that route, or the armor strip ability, or... Because technically, if you want to consider that, it's the same thing right now with enhancements. My war gear on one of my warp smiths lets me move an extra 4 inches at all times. The other one makes it so that everything within 6 inches of them gets full rerolls if they packed. Like, that's basically the same thing. It's just it's not called psychic anymore, which means people can't prevent it. Because there are functions in the game that go, is that a psychic attack? I get a 4-up, feel no pain, have fun. It's just a slight difference, that's all. Not like the worst thing in the world, the way they changed it. It definitely keeps the speed of the game moving, which is what we kind of want. So I need to figure out... But Grey Knights get uppy downy. They get their version of my magic in as like a passive. I wish I had uppy downy. Like to that level. I have 1 uppy downy. Like that's it. That's all I get. Like, do you want them to just call that psychic and let you have fun with it? Considering thinking it's like a spell or something? God, there's so much mold lines on this Predator. I feel like the Rhino I recently bought, which has the same frame, had way less mold lines. But like that's... But then like, what do we do here? Like, so you want infinite options? You can't in a game like this. You're not gonna have competitive play and infinite options, specifically because, as most people in most metas will tell you, infinite options means there's only one option. Like that's how it always works out. Everyone at the beginning will go, this is great because of all the flavor, but then you look at the tournaments and everyone's running the same exact things. It's honestly a good idea why they changed the enhancements the way they did and did all that type of stuff to hone detachments into one thing, is because if, let's say I had a detachment and I had 40 enhancement options, it's like, great, that's cool. For a new player, it's paralytic. For veteran players, they see the 40, they see the 2 that matter, that's it. It's the end of the story for them. Now there's friggin' 38 things that no one will ever use because the 2 that matter already picked. And everyone's cool with it. And it's like, you think on one end that having that many enhancements will increase the flavor of lists and stuff like that. But like I say in most of my videos, meta slaves, stat slaves, they see it and they realize just how minute the use cases are for all the other things. Like there's probably an enhancement in there that goes, if you are playing against an Imperial Guard, you win, basically. Like that's what that enhancement is. It's just, oh, you into Imperial Guard, victory. They'll never beat you. Not a single Imperial Guard player, no matter the list, will beat you if you have this enhancement. Everyone else will though. So they look at all the other things and they go, oh, this is the one that increases my chance against every army by like 10%. And that's all I want. And then that just becomes the game, is you have all that stuff. And it was how it was in 9th when you had like 20 command ploys and everyone was like, you use 2 or 3. Like, you don't go that far away from the mainstream of like what you want as your main interactions. So at the end of the day, what you're thinking is you want an enhancement that's kind of a gun. And that's it. Like, I don't know, man. It's just different at that point. And technically, picking a spell is the equivalent of you picking a model that has a certain loadout. That's why every squad can have like 10 leaders. Or like 4 leaders on average. It's because, do you want lethal hits? Do you want that enhancement? Maybe you want sustain. Do you want a -1 to hit? Do you want a free command ploy? Like it's kind of the same thing, it's just not called psychic.
We are magnetizing a predator to be used as a rhino. Well, psychic technically isn't a gun. There's a couple psychics that are superior and then a couple psychics that are related. Rather than you having to take a psychic phase to roll an attack, you just get this whole other thing. Which 9 times out of 10 is augmented. Usually what happens now is if an attack is considered psychic, it is statistically far superior to most guns. Because of the risk of you running into something that could go, guess what? You don't actually hurt me. We have a couple things we need to do here. Where's my smoke launchers? God, Ryan, Imperial smoke launchers look so bad. So you want more hyper customizable characters? Ah, dude, I came from the era of hyper customizable character. That was a wild time. What I used to do, because there was a QA that came out for Chaos Space Marines back in 4th and 5th edition. So Chaos Space Marines had enhancements, then they had demonic enhancements. There were 2 trees, right? Demonic enhancements were not, at the time, from the QA, suspect to limitations on enhancements. Because enhancements at the time were like, yo, you cannot put more than X amount of points of enhancements on a unit. You just can't. So what you could do in Chaos was basically make a unit cost more than Abaddon, right? You could make a unit cost far more than Abaddon. And he would be way more powerful in combat. And he would just be super expensive. And that's what I always did. I always had one character that was like 280 points. Because I would give him as many durability enhancements from the Chaos tree as possible, and then every single demonic enhancement, all of it. The thing they said in the QA was, if you go that route, the model himself needs to be modeled to be more like a demon prince or a greater demon. They wanted him to be easier to be hit. That was their whole trade-off for you going that route. So I did. I took a Abaddon model. I gave it 2 sets of Tyranid talons to look like wings. I gave him 2 lightning claws that were extended out to the outside. I took a sentinel, like an Imperial sentinel. I put it on a giant base. I put the sentinel down. I built it all up, and then I had him standing on top of it with his wings completely out to the side. He was massive. He was a huge target. I mostly play competitive is the direction. There is some narrative that happens at the local store that could be fun. And narrative is the choice-driven thing, to my understanding. Narrative, you actually upgrade units and change things. I haven't looked super far into it, though, so I'm not sure how deep that goes, but it is a thing. But, like, again, I mean, you want to choose spells, and I kind of get that. I mean, I read the codex for Thousand Suns in 9th, where I could give Ahriman. Well, Ahriman comes with, I think, every spell, so did Magnus. And then if you had a sorcerer, it was like you could pick 3 spells from one of the trees to give him. And you kind of wanted to spread it out because you couldn't use the same spells between all the units, whereas now you can. You can use, if I have 3 sorcerers on the field, I can't only use one of their psychic abilities. I can use all of them, which is, I think, pretty good. But the way, and you're saying perils now, hazardous. It exists. It's still here. It's just different is all. What wasn't fun back in the day was when I was watching armies that weren't exactly super psychic in capability, absolutely annihilating with Deny the Witch rolls. Thousand Suns. Thousand Suns, the most psychic army on the field. We're just like, guess what? You don't get to cast the spell. Guess what? You don't get to... It was just non-stop, and I was like, why? I've always hated this. In AOS, I hated it when I started seeing it there. I hated it in 9th when I was watching it there. Was watching the psychic army get put to the ringer by armies that weren't that psychic. Being like, no, you can't do that. And it was just like, oh, come on. What is happening here?
It was never fun for me to watch that. And literally going up against my buddies undead and having them be like, oh, I went all melee, I don't really have psychers. And me being like, yes, I'm free to cast all my spells. And he's like, I do have people that can deny your spells. I was like, what? And then he just started out-rolling me every single time. I'd roll high, he'd roll higher. Like, it was just not great. I think the Thousand Suns explicitly said you couldn't. There was something in our sorcery where most people had to split up the amount of spells they had. The only one that could be multicast without negative was Warp Smite, which apparently every psyker in the entire game had. We might need to figure out how to manage this magnetically. But I mean, I hear the complaints about, I mean, I don't think I need to do too much more with these. These kind of just actually pop in and chill. The magnet will stop it from falling out. I hear the complaints, people not liking the way it goes. I've seen the far end of the other side of it, and it's like, it gets so awkward at times when you're just like, there's just so many things happening and so many options. And it is a struggle for a company, or like any company that makes any kind of product that is supposed to appeal to as many people as possible. Because, you know, that's how companies survive. The notion of having to lean the product into something more casual, it'll always piss off the hardcore groups. Always. It'll never not piss them off. But a lot of the hardcore groups get a little bit short-sighted with community and stuff like that. Because if you're in a local area and you've got 2 other people to play with and that's it, it's gonna start feeling really boring for you after like a year or so where you're just like, all right, let me play your Space Wolves again. But if they simplify it enough that a new player who, you know, maybe plays a couple other board games or maybe gets into it. Like I have a cousin who started getting really into board games recently. And he found out that I did like 40K stuff and he was like, oh, that sounds like a great game. My first thought when I looked over at his board game collection was, you're probably not ready. That was my first thought, because that's how I keep seeing this system in place. Like, I wouldn't mind teaching him how to play. But there's a big difference between, oh, we like hanging out on the weekends and playing Cards Against Humanity, and all right, let me see how my World Eaters do into your Chaos Knights. Like, there's a whole different realm. A whole different thing. And the closer they can get to the point where somebody's like, oh, dude, I play a ton of Dead of Winter. Think I could play 40K? Yeah. Yeah, you can. You can play Dead of Winter. You can play this game easily if you play Dead of Winter. It's just a little bit of that second jump. Oh, dude, Emperor's Children. Ugh. Do you think they're going to plasticify the Fulgrim model and move them over? Or do you think we're getting a different Fulgrim? What's your thoughts on that? I'm hoping we get a double model Fulgrim, where you start as a basic Fulgrim and then he becomes Demon Fulgrim. It'd be so good. It would be so good. All right, so I originally thought this was going to be visible. It is not. Which means, I think, honestly, what if we glue a big magnet to the back and then we just glue a magnet in here? I don't care about this opening and closing. Like, I'm not trying to win a Golden Demon with this. I am not trying to be like, look at the interior lighting. No. If we glue a magnet in this door here, and then we glue dead center of the back, the other side for both, I think we will have a fairly successful system. The only problem is I feel like this is going to be too far away from it, which would make me want to put a magnet here, but that doesn't work for this. Because this doesn't give me a lot of space. So maybe not. I have, oh, I wonder. Yeah, but I mean, it's, lore changes. Never assume lore is going to stay the same. Lore shifts so that new models can be built. Ooh, that's actually perfect, I think. We're going to need to shave the little bolt ends off this door so that we can actually center it. Or maybe not. Maybe we just put it there. That fits flush. I'm just hoping, I'm starting to feel like most of what Emperor's Children is going to be upgrade sprues, which I don't know, man. There's going to be a few units. I hope the Cacophony units become like a proper thing. I hope the Noise Marines maybe get like a redo or something, but I'm starting to feel like the more I think of what I would want out of Emperor's Children, I think it's mostly going to be upgrade sprues is what we're going to get. Like a Rhino that gets speakers in like the side doors or something, like big speaker systems all over it. Be like a Razorback style Rhino that just has like a giant sound system. The Hellbrutes, their arms would have sound systems. Their heads would be replaced with sound systems. I think it's going to be mostly upgrade sprues, which is a little disappointing, I think. It's a little sad. Maybe I just do this in the top corner rather than center. Like if we just drop this in the top corner. Yeah, so did everyone in the Death of Superman comics. Everyone thought Superman was dead. Lore changes. Never forget, lore changes. Wait, is there a magnet? Oh, no. Wait, is there a magnet? Why does it feel like it's constantly... Oh my god, that's the distance? Okay. Yeah, Superman was on screen dead. Like, it just doesn't... Never assume. That's just where we are. Never assume. I mean, this is a universe where they had to be very clear that a very rare power that exists, that is super powerful and scary, is the ability to destroy the soul of something, because that means that thing no longer exists and can't be resurrected. So like, like we're already at that point where that can happen. I think the big jump the shark moment is going to be when something that did have its soul destroyed comes back. All right, so that'll manage these. We'll figure that out in a second. I'm just gonna put the combi bolter on here. We need to shave the Aquila off of it. What do the different caps look like? Okay. Dude, they 100% would undead someone. You kidding me? If they had a long-running story where the villain wasn't known for the longest time and everyone was trying to figure it out, who is he? Who's the villain? Who's the villain? Who's it gonna possibly be? That'd be like the ideal moment for them to just be like, by the way. So when everyone thought this guy died, his soul got tossed into the warp. And through these functions and means, he came back. And I'm not saying that won't piss people off when that's the announced reason. But it 100% is going to be a reason. They're going to throw that at us like we all were expecting it. They're going to be like, oh yeah, no, we accept this as an outcome. Honestly, if this wasn't the outcome, I'd be disappointed. It's impossible. It really is impossible to just nail something in a nerd fandom for everyone to be like, perfect. Actually, talk topic. In all of nerd fandom everywhere, has there ever been a moment that 100%, 1000%, everyone looked at and went, yep, that's exactly what needed to happen? That's a perfect end to a perfect story. We did it. We broke the nerd curse. Everyone has come together in unison to declare the greatest thing has happened. So that's just one moment. But has the Star Wars series as a whole achieved perfection, making everyone happy with it? Like, let's complete one off. Complete, like, let's go with complete IP, right? Complete IP, 100%. Every episode and everything taken into full, you know, connection to this. Is there anything out there that you would say from beginning to end has been 100% done? Like 100% good. Not a flaw in sight. I need to see what the other caps look like for this. Because I think I have an idea. What we're probably gonna do is we're gonna glue a crossbar underneath this thing. Ooh, Farscape's a good one. Cowboy Bebop, maybe. I might give it to you. The problem is that the animated series ended before the manga did. In my opinion, the ending they gave us for the anime, sure. But, again, if we factor all of it in, and I'm being really serious here, we factor everything in. All of it. Cowboy Bebop also had a Netflix special. See, there you go. You're like, no, it doesn't count. Stop. Ah, no. That show was so bad. It completely lost the plot. Like it just completely, it didn't carry the overall feeling that show would bring in, like every time you would watch it. It didn't do anything to help that series at all. It was just like, here's some garbage. Babylon, I'm not so sure of. I feel like Star Trek and Babylon, within those genres, there probably is something, because that community is like something special. And I think that Penny Arcade nailed it with one of their funny stories. One of the little comic strips they did, where they compared two communities. They compared like the Call of Duty community, which is just people saying like racial slurs and stuff. And then they were like, meanwhile, over in the Star Wars simulation game where you play in co-op on the deck of a ship, traveling through space and solving problems. And it's literally people trying to actually do the right thing, which is so weird. It's fun. It was a fun watch. Or a fun concept, I guess. All right, so we can't go to the edge. We have to do front to back, I think. So things like Star Trek, Babylon 5, maybe. I feel like the community loves the hell out of those. Although you do occasionally see the nerd trope of people pissed for no reason at something that doesn't matter within that series. I think this strut here is enough. But yeah, Farscape. I feel like Farscape was a good one. Farscape was a good one. We can move away from like semi-serious. Yeah, a lot of times that happens too. Farscape got the support to come back for its final episode. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the comedy show Psych. One of my favorite shows of all time. Same thing. Got canceled. Fans loved it so much and demanded it so much that it came back for a final episode. Or I think like a final, what, 2-part movie? Ghost in the Shell can be pretty well liked. Again, there is a movie that not a lot of people seem to enjoy. It was a little disappointing. Needed a slightly bigger strut for the cross. Well, this could make for a topic changeover. Whatever happened to standalone story serialized anime? Standalone Complex, when it started, was like kind of the same formula as Cowboy Bebop, right? Where almost everything was just, you know, its own condensed little concept. Same characters. You watch character growth through all these different situations that occur that make them have to make decisions, challenges their personalities and everything. Gives you better glimpses at how they interact. But then the show kind of, all those kinds of shows take on the next level. Oh, I screwed that up. Which is always just well, now we're going to give you the 20 episode story arc that is going to be a consistent villain, consistent just everything, right? Part of me feels like we've kind of moved away from that. Now every anime has to be like, or every show just in general, leans so heavily into just being like, all right, next arc, here's the villain, enjoy 40 episodes of waiting for the villain to, you know, finish his arc. That's good. All right, magnet struts together. I might reinforce them. Because, like, one of my favorite shows, like, I guess more recent shows that kind of did self-contained. There were a few of them, actually. I don't know if you guys are... I never know. This is the issue. The people I work with, the few of them that are like, I love anime, when I talk to them, I start bringing up anime that I've watched or I enjoy in an attempt to be like, hey, what do you think of this moment? And then they're like, what show's that? And I'm like, motherfucker. Because they're the Bleach, Dragon Ball crowd. Like, I'm glad I got one of them into My Hero Academia, because I knew he would have loved that show. And then he saw it and was like, this is my favorite. And I was like, I know. The question, does this still fits? I think what we're gonna have to do is small magnet. But there's a limited group, I feel like, with anime where people, that's what they watch, right? Like, they're just, this is my limit, this is what I'm going to watch, and that's the end of it kind of situation. Oh, this is actually because this needs to go up here whenever I use the Rhino. That fits pretty tightly. Might be okay, honestly.
Shin-Chan. Shin-Chan's hilarious. Love Shin-Chan. But like, I tried to bring up Ergo Proxy. I thought Ergo Proxy did pretty good for self-contained stories with like weird themes, which was great. I tried to bring up Paranoia Agent with them, because Paranoia Agent was this really interesting take on a social issue. No, yeah, the people I work with are just mainstream shonen. That's what they are. And I have to accept it. It has that awkward feeling for me when like a new episode of their favorite shonen comes out and they talk to me like I watched it. Like they're like, "Oh dude, you must have seen this like 1,000 times by now." It's like, nope. No. I've been watching other stuff. Been doing other things. Paranoia Agent was fantastic. You watch Paprika? That was a fun era when all that happened. Paprika, Paranoia Agent, and then I think Mind Games. Have you seen Mind Games? I'm still weirded out by that movie. Firmly Mecha. You watch Broken Blade? I loved Broken Blade. Not so much serialized. It was more of just a running story. I think they did a movie or like a couple OVAs and a series for Broken Blade. And they were both kind of the same story arcs, but they like paced it differently. Black Lagoon was good. That was just Cowboy Bebop on Earth the whole time. Which was great. You haven't seen Broken Blade? Ooh. Did you watch, okay, one of the coolest mech animes. And the way I watched it, I consider to be perfect. Gun X Sword. Panty and Stocking is kind of a fantastic anime for all of its like weird rotoscope stuff that it did. Like that weird side animation of like everything moving. That was great. I just remember, so what I occasionally do, there's a website some of you have probably heard of and used called AniDB. And what I will do occasionally on AniDB is they have a random thing. You go to it, you press random, it gives you a random anime. So I'll go there, I'll start clicking through all the randoms just to see what pops up. And if what I see looks remotely interesting, I won't look into it. I won't read any reviews. I won't watch a trailer. And there was one time it came up as Gun X Sword. I was just like, yo, you might like Gun X Sword. Just kind of out of nowhere. So I figured, whatever, screw it, I'll watch. That's fine. Oh, they want you to cap with both the small ones. Okay. No cap on a stack. How are we going to make this work? Ah. What, AniDB? AniDB is pretty good for what it does. I don't know the history in it or the people that do stuff on it. But it keeps track of anime better than most. It has some pretty fun functions for finding random stuff. But Gun X Sword, I remember the cover of it was just Van, which is just a guy in a big hat and a swallowtail suit with a sword. And I was like, yep, I'll watch. I remember just being like, whatever, I'm in. And episode 1, they did it perfectly. Because they didn't really reveal their hand. Oh. I thought you were about to like throw some weird stuff out. Oh, Gargantia was great. I did love Gargantia. But okay, I hate describing this anime because then if you haven't seen it, it's on. I think it's completely free on YouTube. If I describe it, you're gonna lose the same magic that I had with it. But I feel like it's necessary. So episode 1, I think we're done on the music. Let me go to the next page. Episode 1 consisted of him just in this kind of like Old West post-apocalypse town, just kind of hanging out, being drunk, whatever. And then he gets into some cool sword fights, beats people with guns with a sword. It's great. And I was like, all right, yeah, no, this is pretty good action. It's got some good writing, some funny comedy, all that stuff. And then near the end of the episode, because the whole time this gang is just like, yo, we're going to take what's in your vault. We're going to take it all. And you can either give it to us now or we'll just take it. So everyone's like, no, we're not giving you our vault, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, all right, well, our boss is almost here. So the boss arrives. It's this giant covered, like just thing, right? Like it's just this big, what looks like a tank covered. And I was like, oh, cool, he has a tank. And then the cover comes off and then the top half of the tank starts to go up and it's a freaking mech. And I was like, oh my God, is this a mech anime? Oh no. And it was like this old looking, but kind of new tech thing. And I was like, oh, I dig this. It's got that like weird, they kind of throw together the machines and it has that flavor to it. It's kind of cool, I guess. But then I'm looking at the sword guy and I was like, does he have a mech? How does he beat mechs with his sword? He's pretty badass. Maybe that's going to be how this works. And then the mech fired the cannon at the town and he did the little dash with his sword in the air. Freaking clouds split. Angelic music plays. Light comes down, slams into the earth with his big sword. Freaking the sword changes into a mech. He hops inside of it. I was like, no, what? And it is just massive, really cool fights. It was so cool. And the whole story was just this amazing, weird world building. Because it feels like Earth post-apocalypse, but the more you watch it and the more people talk about that world, there's this whole side thing going on where you're like, what? like just finding out all this cool stuff about this world's a prison planet. The moon is what's used to create things on the planet with this weird technology. There's these people called the Wardens who use mechs that get launched from satellites in space to put down rebellions. What the hell? And it's just filled with amazing characters. Probably one of my most favorite animes of mech animes that were just out of blue, because it also, not only does this anime do some really cool stuff, it hits every trope within mech animes. You get really cool characters. The main character's mech is like super high tech, like Gundam style. But then there's other mechs that are like Pat Labor style, like Volcane, which is a mining mech that got repurposed into a military mech by the guy who really wants to kill the villain. Like, really wants to kill him. And then you go down the line, and it was great. They go to this town that's kind of like mariachi style. Like, everything's kind of got that like Spanish flair to it, which is great. And it turns out the people living in that town were basically this world's Power Rangers. It was like the Five Amigos or something, and they have the multi-part combination super mech. Oh my God. This is the best. I love the hell out of that show. You guys watching anything these days that really caught your eye, though? Anime-wise? I think we'll upside down this. Reign the Conqueror. I think I watched that one. I can't remember it offhand. Oh, this is the one based on Alex. Yeah, this was based on Alexander the Great. That was actually a good one. And it was done by the guys that did Aeon Flux. That was a good story. Remember the episode where he met the guy that built Alexandria? The architect that was having visions. That was really cool. Burned out. It happens. There's some okay ones I'm watching. Nothing that really stands out to me as like beyond impressive. There's ones that have gotten interesting, I think. The character traits and stuff of some of the people in it are pretty good. But I don't know. We're at the end of the current season, which means there's a lot of like 4-episode fights that are going on right now, and I hate those. I hate them so much. Because there's all this build-up for what feels like no, like, actual payoff. There was this scene where they were like, whoever can untie the knot, that great knot, they were like, whoever unties this, like, gets the city or whatever. And he just walks up to it and cuts it in half. Phone call. We back. All right, we are coming to 3 o'clock. I want this to be magnetized and ready to go, to just be a rhino. I'm not super worried about finishing the predator parts right now. As long as I can get the main parts together, I think I'll be happy. So these are over here. We need to magnetize the 2 caps. That's done. This is over here. Is there something I'm oh, it's upside down. And I guess they don't even really want you to magnetize this, right? Because you just pop it in and out as you go. We're gonna need to make an adjustment to this most likely, just because the magnet glued one seems to want to pull forward Although maybe not. Maybe as long as you just drop it in there, it'll be fine. Yeah, probably fine. Without too much adjustment. Desert Punk. Is that what I'm thinking? That's the new tour. No. Oh, I think I did see this one. I think I saw this one forever ago. This was an old one. Pretty sure I've seen a few episodes of it. I can't remember if I watched the whole thing. Sometimes I usually bail on animes if I'm just like, eh. I've seen enough. I think we use small magnets here. Maybe. Dissatisfied with New Skaven? Let the super glue take a little bit. While we wait for that, these have dried. So the idea we'll do a mildly thick one, because honestly I think I only need one, because it's gonna pull the magnet. This will kind of solidify which side these go to. That pushes. Oh, that's the case. So the idea, ta-da! All it takes.
Other side as well. This pushes. There. Perfect. Gonna be a pretty similar idea here as well. Although I think I want to go with smaller magnets. Because question is this stuff still good? Oof, that goes flush. Kind of a problem. I mean, granted, it sits in. So, like, it's probably not that big of a deal. The fact that it sits flush, though, it's not great. We may need to reassess these bars. Honestly, we may end up not using them. But they should still be usable. But if we put the magnets on the other side of the bar, then when you use something like this, you can just plop it down like that, right? And then it's just there. But then if you put a magnet in here and plop this down, it does still kind of sit. The main issue one is this, because this one just wants to lean forward. Ooh, I don't think I can double. I think they want you to have to use at least one. Because I think the hope is that you maybe put like something on here, right? Like a light or something. A missile launcher, a little scanner. I love Baccano. Immortals, story told from multiple timelines, multiple perspectives. Great. This is going to be a little bit struggle bussy. Because the goal here
No, yeah. Soundtrack, always good. Always a high priority. Soundtrack must equate to what you're watching. Ah, crap. No. Put a little bit of regular glue. That's probably what makes a lot of the animes that come out of the studio for Cowboy Bebop so good. Is just like really good soundtracks. Freaking Samurai Champloo and everything was great. They know how to match weird things up to feel awesome to watch. Forever Winter? Is that the Frostpunk stuff? Is that the sequel? Oh no. First person shooter. A game called Forever Winter where there's no snow. So I'm guessing it's nuclear winter is what they're talking about. Ooh, this one looks cool. Fun Dog Studios, their first iteration of a game. Conceptually speaking, is this the... I mean, I'm questioning what makes it Forever Winter outside of the nuclear winter thing. I feel like I'm over convoluting all of this. Like there's too much going on here now. It's got some grimdark feel, but it's mostly got God, what's that called? Mostly it's like it has like a little bit of diesel-y punk with it. Oh, it looks good. Looks like it's got a good visual aesthetic going. It's just weird for me. Where's the snow? Where is it? All right, goal achieved. That's all I wanted. I wanted to be able to flip this over with the loose fitting cap on it without it falling out. Perfect. We may need to do this one. With this, I think we can achieve the same outcome. No, yeah, I'll definitely take a look at it. It feels like Remnant, but like not set in a odd Eldritch universe. We may need to put another magnet down. There we go. That actually feels like it's holding. All this being said, we need to make sure that this can go down. It has issues because of this bar here. Being slightly too far in. Clear out the loose plastic. It looks okay. I'm really hoping they do good. I like Bloober Team, but I liked Bloober Team a lot more when they kind of did their own stuff. Like when they tried to push some concepts with things like The Observer and Layers of Fear. I really enjoyed those games. But then I feel like every time a company has come forward to be like, yo, we want to fund you for the next horror game, it almost feels like the creativity that I enjoyed about Bloober goes away. And it just becomes more about, like, you know, business wanting money, and therefore game must be played to a certain parameter. Which, I don't know. Maybe it's fine. I'm happy if this is working for them. Like, that's the big thing. If this is actually working for them as a business, great. Because Bloober, I really enjoyed Bloober's Layers of Fear, and I enjoy a lot of their games. They feel good to play. The thing is, I remember Silent Hill 2 very fondly. It was a game I played a ton of back in the PlayStation 2 era. I don't plan on playing it again.
Homecoming. Oh, geez. You might be in for a little bit of a shock. How much do you know about Silent Hill 2? Or I guess like the earlier Silent Hill games in general. Because 2 is kind of part of the lore, like the overall story. But it's a standalone, which is probably why they're remaking it. Because if you remake 1, you're gonna need to remake 3. Whereas 2 is a much easier one to test the waters with, to see if people want it back. Because it's good. It's a completely sustained, internalized story that just utilizes the rules of Silent Hill, being the town that is basically a path to purgatory kind of deal. The lore of Silent Hill is cool. I liked the idea of it. It was the main competitor for Resident Evil. And Resident Evil was very straightforward. Oh, there's a virus. People are becoming zombies. Whereas Silent Hill went the more almost eldritch or kind of like just old world, paranormal, religious, almost kind of situation. Like it decided to just go a completely different path, honestly, than what you would expect. The side with the magnet means we will just put that there, put that there. Door goes here. You. Ooh. And you. Behold. Okay. I went to go see the first Silent Hill movie. That stuck with me, not for like a good reason, I guess, would be the way to put it. So my friend and I were just like chilling. We were just hanging out, and then we were like, hey, do you want to just go watch the Silent Hill movie? And yeah, let's just, whatever. We're not doing anything today. Let's just drive, go see Silent Hill. And we were walking into the theater. This was around the time the movie actually came out. I actually didn't need to Dremel anything here. This was kind of cool. Around the time the movie came out, so we were walking. Where's the rest of my parts? We were walking to the theater, and there was this goth like group of kids. Here it is. You know, just really big pants from Hot Topic with a ton of pockets, that kind of stuff. Basics. Standard issue. And I remember we were just like walking up, and the one kid goes, hey, you gonna go see that Silent Hill movie? And we were like, yeah. And he goes, save your money. You don't even get to see the actress's tits. Like, that was literally what he said to us. This was like a 14-year-old kid or something, just sitting there. We were like, what? What? We almost did walk out of the theater, though, because it was like the movie was just like really boring for us for the most part. I remember we were just sitting there watching as like nothing was really happening for a long period of time. We both looked at each other and went, do we just leave? Because the people behind us left. Like there were 4 people in the theater total. It was me and my friend, and then the 2 people behind us. Like up to the top of the theater, we were just like, I think we leave. So we both were standing up at the exact moment when the Pyramid Head grabbed the one girl from behind, picked her up, and tore all her skin off in like one pull. And then we both sat back down and just kept watching the movie.
We were like, whoa, okay. This movie threw something at us we never expected. But yeah, I ended up just not liking it. It was weird. Like, it didn't feel paced well. They didn't really nail the atmosphere. I don't know. It was just something. Something was off. Made us not enjoy it. But when we saw that, we were like, oh, things are going to get serious. And then they never did. Up until that, the infamous barbed wire scene near the end. Ugh. Wasn't nearly as bad, though. Like, the Silent Hill series of movies was directly, like, you know, it was funded by people who I don't think they were fans of the game. I think they just knew what people were saying in forums, right? Like, everyone loved the Pyramid Head, which it was always funny hearing that the artist hated that everyone loved the Pyramid Head. He is not happy that people are really interested in the Pyramid Head. And I remember it had to have been that somebody in the funding team was just like, yo, let's create a new monster in the series, and then let's make the Pyramid Head fight it and win. And that's going to be like the whole thing. Like, it was going to be like King Kong versus Godzilla style. And that's going to be the thing that makes everyone love our movie. That was the worst. That was actually the worst. Pyramid Head was exclusively the Silent Hill 2, like, pseudo-villain, because that was the manifestation of that character's guilt. Like, it was such a weird notion and idea to be like, oh man, let's just make it the universal villain in the series. It's like, what? What? Why would you do this? We're gonna have to pull a lot of these parts off when we paint it, because we're gonna need to paint them separately. Chaos Rhino number 2 that can be turned into a predator. We do need smoke. I want to put smoke on this. So things I gotta remember for my game on Friday. I have units with grenades. Grenades are a powerful ploy. Do not underestimate grenades.
My warp smiths have it. My cultists have it. Tank shock is going to be important. Focus on using the Mauler Fiends to zone out my opponent. That's a terrible idea. That also doesn't look that good. I can't put it there because I have to replace the Sposons. Oh well. So that's cool. I'll take a look at that game. I'm more looking into Towers of Azkaban, I believe is the name that it's called now. I've kind of been following that game's progress for a few years now, like almost a decade at this point. Like, Jesus. I thought it was done. I watched a beta trailer for it that I thought was really cool. It was the theory of what the game's going to be like, basically in the form of a trailer. I thought it was awesome, but I didn't know when it was going to come out, so I kind of stopped paying attention. And then they showed that trailer recently. So they made it very real, and I'm hoping it actually comes out as a game. The question is, how much of what they showed back in the day is actually going to pan out as how the game plays? Because if even a remote amount of what they showed is actually how the game's going to work, it's going to be one of the coolest sandbox games to play. Whew. Both rhinos. One magnetized, one not. Beautiful. I love it. I actually ripped the forward-facing spikes off of this one because it's actually a little annoying about the Chaos Space Marines is when they do stuff like that, where they have that bulldozer spike thing on the front. That's actually more size, so it makes them harder to maneuver than just keeping them as small boxes. So yeah. And these are gonna protect 2 of my 3 Chaos Cultist squads. Make sure, did I put magnets on the bottom? Yeah, I did. Good. The oblets can probably be set aside for later painting. I won't need to worry about them right away. I feel like we've gotten most of the stuff I need together to start painting tomorrow. But we're not going to be painting everything.
I'm definitely gonna want to paint the screamers though, because Spearhead's coming up. When did they say? Did they actually put out AOS information? As though AOS is coming out soon or something? The Oblets over here. Got these. I got deployment zone markers. Move these guns over. Get the glue together. Let me prep. I'm gonna prep some stuff, pull some stuff out, because we gotta get going here in a minute. Put all this away. My actual other rhino should be here, I think later tomorrow. That's why I bought it now. Oh yeah, man. Super happy we got it. I was so worried because, like, a lot of the people in the local group were like, "We'll let you borrow our rhinos if you need to test a rhino." On one hand, cool. On the other hand, eh. Stuff over here, because I'm not going to be using it as a predator anytime soon. Good to have the option though. Vallejo gold, lots of it. Both rhinos, Warp Smith, both venom crawlers, Vashdor. So for tomorrow, I'm gonna need to actually wipe all of this stuff down, clear all of this chipping stuff off. We got the 3 Warp Smiths. I cannot, I'm pulling them over in chunks, like. I hate having units like this, where there's just so many frickin' models that you gotta pick them up by the fistful. A key thing I think I'll do, if we can get all the priming done tomorrow in a timely fashion, we're going to attempt to mark all of the cultists. Ooh, these are flamers. So many cultists. Oh, dude, I'm about to bail. Congrats on getting home safely. Oh, tomorrow's gonna be rough. So, black primer, a blend of black and white for these guys. We're gonna do here, and then I'm gonna hit up here with white to the best of my ability, and we're just gonna have to
manually fix things as we go. So we can do that. Both rhinos are set. Black primer. Still haven't decided. I think Vashtor is going to end up being... because the flesh doesn't feel that specific. So I think I could do better doing correctives with white paint for the flesh tone. So he'll probably primed black and then made gold in the areas where it matters. All of these cultists primed white. Every single one of them. Warpsmith's primed black. So yeah. Let me move the glue and everything away. I'm gonna pre-set up the box tonight so I can just show up tomorrow and we can start streaming. I need to clean the clippings off my desk. Oof. Oofda. Super cool. I like it. I like the magnetization so that I can turn it into a predator later. We'll have to do that kind of at a separate time. Oh, yeah. I'm looking at this and I'm internally freaking out at how much we need to paint. Like, just these guys alone, the amount of detail on them. Oh my God, dude. I'm gonna hate it. I'm gonna hate it. I'm gonna love it at the same time. But yeah, core thing, we need to basically paint the colors on all the cultist banners so that they feel separate from each other once we're done priming. Because if I can do that before the game on Friday, then I think I'm good. Because then I'll be able to at least be like purple cultists, blue cultists, burgundy cultists. Which, that's kind of the way you want it. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for swinging by. We should be streaming tomorrow. Fingers crossed, unless something comes up. As always, check out the Discord, see if anything changes. Whew. Till next time, guys. Later.